Hi Year 8, welcome to the third lesson in our distance learning unit on pioneers, inventors and developers. We've been learning about Galileo last lesson. We're going to stay in a similar period a little bit earlier, and this time we're going to think about Christopher Columbus and what his impact was on the wider world. So we're learning to examine that long-term impact of his voyage to the Americas. I'd expect all of you to be able to list items that were traded as part of the Columbian Exchange. So you'll learn about that, things that were moving from different parts of the world to others. Most of you should actually be able to explain with a bit more knowledge and confidence how his voyage had this long-lasting effect on the Americas and wider world. And some of you might even be able to explain your opinion about whether you think we should call him a pioneer or not. Right, to get our brains going, here's your starter activity. What do all these images have in common? You can write your answer in question 1 of the quiz, pause the video, and then come back once you've finished, and we'll see if you're correct. Pause it now. Okay, hopefully you've written your answer. All of these images show either food or different types of items, like the cattle in the top left. They're all iconic with the place that you can see. So just to go around really quickly, there's the cattle there with Texas in the middle at the top. There's the orange with Florida, Swiss chocolate. The bottom left is an image from Hawaii with a pineapple. There's a Thai chili pepper. And then the one on the right, I really want you to think about the tomatoes that is supposed to represent Italy. All of these items are iconic with those regions, but actually before Columbus's journey, they never existed in those places. So for example, Italy never had tomatoes. They didn't exist in Europe. The same with chocolate and the same with cattle in the Americas. So his voyage has had this massive long-lasting effect that we still see today. And actually, if we didn't know about it, we might just assume that, for example, oranges and citrus fruits were always in Florida in the United States. But it simply isn't true. So what's the big idea for today's lesson, which is going to help you understand what we're doing? Well, I think a lot of you know already, Columbus traveled to the Americas in 1492. He left from Spain specifically, and he arrived in the Caribbean. He took things with him to this new world, as they called it, that they'd never actually experienced before in that place. So for example, he was taking animals like the cattle that we just saw in the last slide. He also brought things back with him to Spain, which traveled across Europe and then Asia and Africa as well, that had never been seen in what they called the Old World. So just as an example there from the last slide, tomatoes actually are native to South America. They'd never been seen before in Europe until Columbus started bringing some of these things back with him. And there's your challenge. How much can you learn about this long-lasting and global significance of his voyage? So just in simple terms, there's the New World and the Old World. Okay, it's quite a European concept because they were referring to themselves as the Old World. Keywords for today's lesson: voyage, very simply a journey. For Columbus, we're going to talk about his journey across the Atlantic Ocean via ship. Trade is when people exchange things. It can be goods, but it could be other things as well, ideas. You might even find out about illnesses and disease today. It was referred to as the Columbian Exchange. You're going to read that phrase. It doesn't mean the country Columbia, and it doesn't just mean things that happened on that one single voyage that Columbus took himself. He actually took 3 voyages. It's going to refer to anything that was exchanged between the New World and the Old World as a result of his discovery of the Americas and subsequent journeys, in particular by the Spanish. You're going to read this word as well today. It's called the encomienda system. It's a system that was set up by the Spanish where they were trying to make the most and exploit all the resources that were in this new world. Global just means something that affects more than one country or more than one region. Okay, so his journey definitely has international significance. That's why we've all heard about him today. Long term means something that has an effect, not just in that particular day, week, month, or year, but actually will last for a very, very long time. So for example, some of the foods that he has brought back with him, we still have, and they're actually very common in our diets today in this part of the world. And significance just means something that's important. So we wouldn't really be studying Columbus if he wasn't very important. What you need to do in today's lesson, you should have started the quiz already because you've done the starter task. Now you can go on, there's 2 more videos to watch as well as images, so complete all the questions. If you're finishing really fast and you'd like to do something more creative, it's only optional, but there's a living poem that you can write on Columbus as well. There's a template that's in the files. You can see how to get there. But there's also, at the end of the video, a quick summary of that optional task. But remember, it's just for an extension. I don't want you working any further than the normal lesson period. So here's a template of the living poem if anyone's interested in doing something a bit creative. But remember, it is purely optional. We'll touch base before the end of the lesson to discuss our learning objective, but otherwise, I hope you enjoy learning a bit more about Columbus, and I'll be very interested to know if you think he's a hero or a villain in the final question on the assignment.